What's good, everyone? Welcome back to the show recap with Mo, where we're getting ready to get into another episode breakdown of Tyler Perry's Sistas. But before we get into this thing, make sure to like and subscribe to this channel so you don't miss shit snit that's going down, alright? So the episode we're getting ready to get into is for Season 7, Episode number 9, titled Three's a Crowd. Now, the synopsis for this episode states, Karen shares unexpected news that makes Zach happy but causes a totally different reaction from Fatima. Meanwhile, one of Gary's plans to sabotage Andi backfires. Now that we got that out of the way, let's go ahead and get into this thing. Alright, so we kicked this episode off where we left off with both Zach and Karen at the hospital. Now, the previous episode, unless you've been under a rock or whatnot, Karen just found out that she was having twins, right? Like we didn't already know that was coming. Anyhow, going back into this thing, we see Zach is in the waiting room, patiently waiting to hear the results from the DNA test. Of course, when Karen comes into the room, she pretty much conveys to him what's going down. Zach is super excited about this pregnancy. Now, let me be the first one to say, as a father of twins myself, or just period, being a father period is a joyful experience. I would never want to take that away from anybody. Now, in the context in which we are in right now with brother Zach and Karen, it's a little iffy, right? Because this man is trying to start a new relationship with a new woman and not the woman that he's in the waiting room with. So, for me, I'm like, I'm trying to be happy for him because this is a brand new life that's coming into the world. But it's effed up as well because you can't really be excited about it because of what's going on. And, you can't... outside. Zach is super excited about the situation. He wants to hug. He's hugging her and all of this stuff. And all of a sudden, he's still hugging with his girl, his actual woman, presently, right now, comes into the room to see this man once again with his hands all over Karen. And I'm like, what the hell? Oh, Father God. So, when Fatima finally comes into the room, Zach, he can't wait. He's just super excited to convey this information to Fatima. So he's telling Karen, hey, sure. So eventually, Karen shows her the image. And of course, just the look on her face was like, I can't believe it. I just can't believe this shit. And you can literally see the life ooze up out of Fatima as she's looking at the image. And I'm like, damn, like, Zach, pay attention to your woman right here. Get out of the excitement of potentially being a father of these two beautiful children, right? Think about your woman right now that you're presently involved with and not your ex-girlfriend, right? And, unfortunately, he's not in that mindset. So anyhow, going on from there, we see Karen taking a phone call from her mom. She tells her to meet her at the new salon. And then we see Fatima telling Zach that she has to head back to work. Of course, before she leaves, Zach tries to get him some sugar, right? And of course, she ain't giving it to him. He got the side cheek. And before he could connect with that cheek, she was gone. So this man is standing here in the waiting room talking about what's good, like what's up. You know what's Don't act like you don't know Zach. Don't act. Anyhow, moving on from there, man, we head over to see Sabrina calling Rich to see, how he's doing because he never responded back to her text. So she called him to check in on him and then also told him that she had a good conversation with her bestie, Danny, right? So, after talking to Danny, she suggested that they all hang out for later on that night. And he was like, yeah, that's cool. Just let me know the time and the place. So anyhow, while she's on the phone with Rich, she receives a phone call from Karen conveying to her that she wants to meet with all the sisters to come over and they can have a little girls talk, right? So she was like, cool, just let me know the time and I'll be over there. So anyhow, going on from there, We see Andi, who's back at the law firm, waiting on one of her, appointments or whatnot, and she receives a phone call from Karen as well, conveying the very same information that she shared with Sabrina earlier. And she was like, cool, but that sounds serious. Like, is everything all right? She was like, yeah, everything is good, but I just want to share all of this information with everybody all at the same damn time. So she was like, cool, we can definitely do that. I'll holler with you later. So anyhow, while she's on the phone with Karen, she's receiving a phone call from the secretary at the front office, and she tells her that she has a Miss Penelope there to see her. Andi conveys to her to go ahead and send her back to her office. All right, so now Penelope shows up to Andi's office. Andi starts off the conversation by saying, how are you doing? Of course, Penelope responds by saying, well, I'm doing fine, but I'm also a little nervous about, the well-being of my child as well with all of this stuff going on. And she was like, girl, let me tell you something. For the safety of you and your child, it is best that you get far, far away from Gary. What? Yeah, that's why I'm trying to tell you. It is best that you get away from his ass. What are you trying to tell me? Listen, girl, I had a friend from college dig up some information on Gary. Shit, some stuff I didn't even know. What? For real? Do tell. And now, I know that's not exactly how it went down on the episode, but that's what I heard. Did you hear that? Well, but anyhow, I do believe that it is time that Penelope finally figures out or finds out or hears about the doings of Gary. Because he is not a great dude to be around, to be involved with. And I'm just glad that it is over for Gary with Penelope. Well, hopefully. Let me just say hopefully, right? So moving on from there, we see Sabrina now calling Maurice, who's back at his crib, getting himself ready for the date later on that night. So Sabrina's reasoning for calling Maurice is just to tell him a little bit about her day, what went down, who she saw, who she did not see, and what she did not know at the time, but now what she knows. So if you called it, you called it. But anyhow, she tells him that she ran into Karen over there at the hospital, and Karen was trying to lie to her about why she was there, but eventually she told her about the DNA test. Did y'all hear that, or is that what I just heard? Anyhow, that's what I heard. So anyhow, while she was on the phone with Maurice, because Maurice was trying to get into the details, but of course, before she could get deep into the details, Karen got on the phone, and Maurice was like, oh shit, they got your phone down. Like that. So anyhow, like I told you before, she calls her to tell her that, hey, be over at my house at 6 o'clock. That's when everyone should be over there. And I just want to holler at y'all. So anyhow, going on from there, though, we head back over to the office where we see Andi and Penelope still having their conversation. Now, Andi goes on to tell Penelope that, hey, I had this friend, like I told you previously, had pulled up some dirt on Gary, and this is what he was able to find. So she conveys to her that there was this girl that he was dating back in high school, his high school sweetheart by the name of Kimberly Potter. Now, Kimberly Potter and Gary were dating. They went to the prom together, the junior prom, and she and Gary went to the prom, but she never came back home. And Penelope is like, what? And she was like, yeah. And Penelope is like, well, what did the parents say? What did the police say? Well, everybody is saying, that they did see she and Gary arguing and whatnot. Gary's story is that she was drinking and he didn't want her to drink. And, he pretty much left her where she was, literally, right? And, he never heard from her again, which is just strange, right? So Penelope is like, okay, so who is this dude? And that's what we're all trying to find out, Penelope. Who is Gary? But, Andi, is that it? No, it ain't it. But since we're talking about Gary already, let's go ahead and deal with Gary. So Gary is over at his office where he gets a visit from Miss Willis herself. So when Miss Willis comes in, she was like, woo. And he was like, what's good? You need to put some scented candles up in this piece because it smells like death and deception. I said, woo. Is Miss Potter in there? Shit, I wouldn't put it past him. I couldn't. I just couldn't. Because knowing Gary, knowing the limits that he would take, he probably doesn't want her to leave his side. So, who knows, man? But anyhow, she sits down with him and he was like, look, I just wanted to warn you about some stuff and I'm still technically trying to get your business. I'm trying to get you to invest. And she was like, boy, please. Like, are you serious? I mean, after you decimated the Archer family fund? And he was like, well, you know, they knew the risk and all of it. And she was like, but somehow your ass made it through the risk. And the only risk that it was you. And they just didn't see you coming. I was like, boy. So she was like, what did you want to tell me? And of course, before we could get into what he wanted to tell her, we had to head over to see Karen in her new salon. And of course, we saw Pam coming out of the storage room. Of course, on social media marketing her roots to riches and all of that shit. Or was it rags to riches? Roots to riches? Something like that, right? So Miss Lisa shows up. And she's coming to speak to Karen because Karen wants to convey to her about the new bundles of joy, right? So when she goes into the office, she pretty much tells her, look, I'm having twins. Of course, Miss Lisa is super excited about it. And Karen is like, yeah, everybody's good. We're all good. We're feeling good. Zach is doing well. He's super excited. And Miss Lisa is like, so he is the father. And she was like, well... we still waiting on that. But I know he's the father. I know he is. And Miss Lisa's like, well, okay, we just gonna be happy for them. We're gonna be happy. I'm just so happy. No, we can't be happy till we find out, Miss Lisa, and you know that, daggone it. Anyhow, moving on from there. We head over to see Maurice getting a phone call from Grayson, who calls him to see what type of wine he wants for tonight's date. He suggests, red or white. Of course, Maurice is like, both? Yes. And he was like, okay, which one is it? Yes. And he says, okay, I just bring both of them. And he was like, yes, my favorite. So I wish that Maurice would take things a little more seriously, but it is what it is with him. He brings some of the comedy relief to the show. So it is what it is. Going on from there, we see Miss Willis and Gary. Now, Gary marshals borders, right? Yeah, I said the full government, right? Because Miss Willis ain't playing with him. So she was like, look, why did you really bring me down here or whatnot? So he's like, look, I just wanted to talk to you because I know you going through this whole divorce thing. And she was like, look, everybody know that. Like, tell me something I don't know. Right? And he was like, look, well, I know that you are, considering, Andrea Barnes as your, your counsel, whatnot. And then she says to him, why is my counsel of concern to you? And I was like, oh, shit. I said this game, all right. So she was like, look, what's good? So he's like, look, I just wanted to warn you before you make this decision of, or make this mistake. And she was like, what mistake are you talking about? And he was like, well, Mrs. Barnes isn't, well, not Mrs., but Miss Barnes isn't suitable to represent you, right? You too big for her. You're a big fish, right? Essentially what he's saying to her. So she was like, okay, do tell. And of course, Gary's like, look, listen, I'm going to keep it 100 with you all the way, right? I'm going to stand on business. Let me tell you about Miss Barnes. She's untrustworthy. She's shady. She's immoral. She's promiscuous. I was like, damn, she all of that? And then, hey, you're not going to believe this. She's sleeping with somebody down there, one of the partners at the firm. She was like, what? And I was like, who? I know you ain't talking about old boy. Shit, I done forgot his name. He had been, y'all done ran him away. He went back to go get some money and never showed back up. Maybe he went where Penelope went last, a few episodes ago. Anyhow, we'll get on her in a moment. And then he goes on to say, look, she's also under FBI investigation. Like, she wants to win in all of that. You don't want her representing you. And then just to go ahead and put the nail in the coffin, he tells Miss Willis that when my wife went to her to represent her in her divorce, she was trying to get with me all the time. And I was like, what? So Miss Willis said, oh, thank you so very much for the intel. But let me let you know something real quick, bro. I know that it was you that initiated that FBI investigation. I said, oh. I said, oh, shit. Because she started it off by saying Look, you know how I work. You know that I'm very detailed. I don't sit up here and just make choices because I feel like making choices. I do my due diligence. You know what I'm saying? So what that means is I investigate as well before I make a choice on who I want to work with. But I also know this. You were the one that bought Miss Barnes, that penthouse, that Rolls Royce. I said, oh shit. I said, she ain't lying. And then Miss Willis was like, I know one thing for sure. She must definitely know how to put it down in the bed. Gary was heated. Damn. Oh my gosh, man. I was ready to cut off the show. I was ready. I was good to go, man. Anyhow, she was like, look, you feel rejected as a man. This ain't no good look on you. I said, right, Gary? This ain't no good look for you, bro. You losing your ex-wife? Well, you've already lost her. Because did y'all notice when he was talking, yeah, my wife, and she said, you mean your ex-wife? I said, oh, shit. I said, go ahead and do it, Miss Willis. I'm sitting here rooting it on, man, because she was like, look, put your feelings in your pockets, homeboy. Like, this ain't no good look. And then she walks up out, and he hot. He heated. So anyhow, moving on from there, man, I wish I could stop right there, but I can't. So we head back over to the law firm where we see Andi and Penelope. Now, Penelope is feeling some type of way. She can't believe that she's laid down and considered making a life with this man who she's finding out more and more is just a lunatic. He's just all over the place. She doesn't know if he can be trusted or whatnot, but it is what it is at this point. The baby is in the womb. The only thing you can do is what Andi is stating. Look, I got a friend that can hide you. He can make sure that Gary don't find you. Y'all like that? He can hide you. He can put you with Gary. Can't find you. You see what I'm saying? So she gonna steal away. She gonna steal away. Listen, you gonna have to hide like Harriet Tubman, all right? And the best way to do that for Black History Month is just listen to what Andi Barnes got to tell you, all right? So she's telling her, look, I need you to go back to your crib, collect what you can, and let's get up out of Dodge so he don't find you, right? So while she's in the midst of this conversation and she's talking to Andi, and she's like, look, how did we miss it? And Andi's like, look, sometimes we as women, we just miss the red flags. Now, you see the lady all on the internet talking about, now I didn't even watch all 50 series or whatever she had going on, but she was like, who in the heck did she marry or something like that? But she said she missed all the red flags, right? And it's true. You can be so blown away by an individual that you lose sight of what's important to you, your values. And you start to throw your stuff to the side just to get a taste of what they're bringing to you, the way that you feel and all of these things, and you miss sight on what's important. And really, that's what all of these sisters on this show is going through. Well, let me take that back. Not all of them, because some of them don't really want that. Some of them don't really want to be settled down for real. They don't want families and all of that good stuff. And we're not going to get into all of that. But all I'm saying is this. Know who you are, know who you want to be, and know who you want for yourself. Moving on from there, though, we head over to Karen's crib where we see... Hold on. Let me step back real quick, because while Andi and Penelope are at the office, Gary attempts to contact Penelope. Penelope is looking at the phone. She wants to pick it up, but she doesn't want to because Andi is looking at her like, girl, don't pick it up. But Penelope is looking at the phone and at the same damn time talking about, well, Gary, Andi's like, don't do it. So anyhow, back over at the office with Gary is losing himself. He's calling her out her name, talking about pick up the phone, you this and that. And I was like, bro, you are simply losing it. You done lost it with Miss Willis. Maybe that's what it was. She struck a nerve. Oh, man, he done lost it, man. Anyhow, going on from there. We head over to see Karen. Karen has the sisters over to convey that information to them that they've so been waiting for ever since they found out that she was pregnant. The only thing they wanted to know who the baby daddy was. Specifically, daddy. right? Daddy wasn't letting it go. So when they start to ask these questions, Karen is like, look, let me go ahead and tell y'all I'm super excited. And before she can utter the words, Daddy is like, so Zach is not the father. And of course, Karen is like, no, that's not it. I'm having twins. And everybody is super excited. And now looking at Danny. Danny is like, okay, but that's not what we're here for. Like, I'm glad we know you're having a baby, but realistically, is Zach the father? Like, that's what we came here for real, to know if he was the father of the child or not. Now we know it's two. That's all good and all, but that's not what I came here for specifically. Danny was coming to find out who the daddy was. Anyhow, going on from there, she and Sabrina, they leave because, she has to go pick up Rich and, they got the double date tonight. Now, let me say this about daggone Danny. I ain't know what she had on. I ain't know, but as a man, I was looking and I was trying to look at the show, but I got distracted. And I was like, oh my goodness, it is you. Oh my gosh, man. Just simply beautiful, man. Anyhow, moving on from there, man. We head over to see Zach and Fatima. Now, we already knew that it was going to go down when they got back to the crib due to the fact that every time Fatima had seen him at the hospital, he had his hands around Karen or on Karen. But, I did not expect her to leave as she did. But of course, she had to get away from the situation to make this situation better for herself. Because at this point, I did not understand it either. The way that Zach was going in, he was all up on the laptop, looking at, Corvettes for babies and all of this stuff. And all this time, she was like, Zach, like, pay attention to me at this moment. Let's talk. But he's like, what's good? Like, aren't you super excited about this as well? Like, I am, but I'm not. And truthfully, I didn't sign up for this. Like, I signed up to be with you, but I didn't know that you came with so much damn baggage. Like, we know about Lil Mike now. Now, we thought it was one. Now it's two. And what the heck is going on? And truthfully, Zach should have sat down after finding out that potentially he could be the father of twins. He should have sat down immediately when he got home and had a discussion with Fatima. That way, let's go ahead and put these cards out on the table, okay? This was a blow. This was a surprise to me as well. I did not expect this. What can we do? How can we make this work? Financially, we're good. I know that. But at the same time, how is it going to work with Fatima? She's headed back to school. She's trying to focus on herself at this moment as well. And you said you will be there to support her. But now having 3 more people in the picture that she did not expect, that's big for sure. Because it changes the dynamics of their relationship. And I know some people are like, no, it doesn't. But it truly does. Because I remember when my wife and I first got married, like, we could truly do whatever we wanted, whenever we wanted, however we wanted. If we wanted to go back to school, I remember when my wife was talking about to go get her master's at that time. And I was like, cool, go ahead and do what you need to do. Then when she wanted to go get her doctorate degree and I was in school, like, we were working those things out. You see what I'm saying? But when those kids came into the picture, it was like, okay, hold on. He got soccer practice. He got this. She got this. She got dance class and all of these things. And we started pulling away from some of the things that we wanted in particular. And we started focusing on what the kids wanted. And sometimes I would give and take and get, it just changes a lot. And she's being real right here. Like, if I go back to law school, you're talking about we're going to be good. We're going to be easy. Everything is going to be great. No, it's not. Yeah, y'all gonna make it through. Y'all gonna make it. But is it going to be great? All right. So anyhow, moving on from there, man. We head over to see Maurice and Grayson at his house. So obviously they getting their grub on. Maurice done cooked up some food. They drinking the red and the white wine. And, they're just having a little bit of conversation with one another. Grayson is like, hey, man, real talk. How much longer are you going to deal with this whole fixation page or whatnot? And I don't want to sound like a hypocrite because I actually met you on there. But if I'm going to speak truth in all of this, I never thought that I would be actually dating or talking to somebody and thinking long term with somebody that is so willing to give their goods out in the public setting. Let me just say it like that, right? And Maurice was like, well, honestly, I didn't think anything about it. I was just simply hoping that, my good friend would actually become branch manager again and would give me that opportunity to get my job back. Now, that's something he's hoping for. I'm not sure if that's going to happen, but I guess we'll find out. So I guess we'll see where this relationship goes with both Gary and, not Gary, damn it. Daggone, I'm still thinking about Gary and that whole Miss Willis. That whole situation with Maurice and Grayson, maybe we'll find out how that goes with them as well, if Maurice can take this situation seriously, right? Going on from there, we head over to see Danny at the restaurant with that outfit on that I was talking about earlier, and we see Fatima for some reason at the restaurant as well. So she comes in, she joins Danny at the table, and they have a brief conversation about their lives. Right now, dealing with both Tony and Zach, almost in similar situations. Tony has the 2 kids from a previous marriage, and, Danny is feeling some type of way. She's going through therapy, trying to deal with her, past traumas and trying to go through those and deal with those. And then, she likes this man by the name of Tony, but she doesn't know if she's ready to take on the responsibility of being, quote unquote, a mother to these 2 kids, before she's ready to do that. And not to mention, he hasn't really had that discussion with her about that as well. So I hope he's not running from that topic, because unfortunately, if it's going to work, Tony, you're going to have that conversation. Not only that, Fatima feels the same exact way with Zach, and I know people dogging Fatima out. Fatima should do this. This ain't her place to be. Bump that. If I'm marrying a person, that becomes my issue as well. That becomes my problem. If something goes down with one of those kids, it becomes my problem as well. Because when we get married, we are a unit. We are a unit. There is no I in we. When I married my wife, we became we. It did not just become me or she. You see what I'm saying? And if we think like that, then we've already set the marriage up to fail in the first place. And I'm going to end it on that note right there. I'm going to end it on that note and move on to the next section. So we head over to see Gary. Now, Gary is all stressed out. He already been talked bad to by Miss Willis. So he's still in his feelings right now because he doesn't understand why this shit is happening to him, right? It's happening to him. For some daggone reason, it's happening to me. So Hudson comes in and he's like, hey man, what's going on? We need to figure out what's going on with this FBI stuff. Hudson is like, look, I'm trying to figure out what's going on. I haven't heard anything back from my contact at the DOJ or whatnot. But he was like, well, what happened to the bougie billionaire chick? Well, let me go ahead and tell you what happened to her, Hudson. She pretty much told your boy who he was, what he was, and where he can go with it. And unfortunately, it ain't gonna work out, Hudson. So going on from there, we head back over to the restaurant where we can just say uncomfortable. It was an uncomfortable situation for a short time frame there, because all the talk was about children and babies. Now, we know Rich ain't trying to have that conversation. He's trying to avoid it at all costs. And then we see Tony over there is elated that he currently has the opportunity to spend all of this time with his kids while his wife is away. And, the aunt is watching the babies for tonight. Well, I shouldn't call them babies because one is like 12 and another, so they're not really babies. But at the same time, it's a opportunity for him to spend more time with the kids. And of course, Danny doesn't want to talk about that because she's uncomfortable. So I'm like, should y'all have a what they call it, a couple swap? Because Rich and Danny are perfect for one another. Neither one of them want children, right? They really don't want it right now. Well, I don't know if Danny doesn't want kids, but right now she don't really want it right now. She want to just have fun and do what she been doing, right? And then you got Tony and Sabrina, they both love the family environment. One wants kids and one already has kids, and maybe y'all could just switch it up. Won't nobody know? We won't tell, right? So anyhow, going on from there, they get ready to leave. They want to go back and have dessert at the crib, right? So going on from there, we head over to Zach and Fatima's crib where we see Zach is asleep on the couch and Fatima comes down and he was like, when did you come back? She was like, look, I just want to apologize for how I stormed out of the building and whatnot. And, I just want to apologize about that. And he was like, no worries, like, just don't do it again. Whoa. So she's pretty much stating to him, like, I just wish that you would have considered my feelings and all of this. And he was like, yeah, I can admit I was wrong about that. I didn't even think about it. And that's true, bro. You did not think about it. You were just super, super excited. And like she told you, you're putting the cart before the horse. You ain't even got the DNA test back. As I stated before, you could be excited about Aaron. And you know you don't want to do that, bro. So anyhow, I'm glad that they were able to resolve their issue at this point, and it just made me think about what I stated earlier, because Fatima did say to him that I want us to be, on the same page. I want us to communicate better, and I want us to work together. That's what you got to do in a marriage. That's what you do in a companionship. And if somebody is telling you otherwise, shit, I don't know who is doing that and is successful, right? So going on from there, we head back over to Gary's office where we see he and Hudson still in the office talking when news comes over the laptop, right? And they're talking about Jordan, and they find out that the girl that put all that stuff out there in the atmosphere was lying. She made it up. Gary is upset. He tears up the laptop. Hudson is like, I guess I'm going to have to purchase a brand new laptop for you. And he was like, look, man, this dude right here, Andi had something to do with it. Woo, woo, woo. All of this is going back to Andi? You blaming her for Miss Willis knowing all her information and all this stuff? No, bro. People have ways in finding out what you do. There's always a paper trail of some sort. It does not matter. Anyhow, going on from there, he's like, look, man, like we said before, you remember the plan. If it doesn't go right, we got to get rid of the chick. I was like, oh, man. So you're bringing an innocent bystander into this situation. A young lady that you decided to bring into this picture, and now you want to take her out. Man, you the lowest of lowest, man. Anyhow, that's the end of the episode, man. I hope that you guys have enjoyed it. I definitely went over 30 minutes this time, but I hope that you guys enjoyed it, man. I will talk to you guys soon. Tomorrow night, we got, what do we have tomorrow night? Shit. Oh, yeah, we got Ruthless, and we got Bruh. Season 4 of Bruhs. So be on the lookout for that. I will talk to you guys soon. Peace.